Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome everyone to quality control, and today we'll have our uh, quality function deployment chapter. This is additional topic that is under the quality control course. It is the last topic that usually we end up this course with. It is very useful topic when we apply Six Sigma project, or also when we design our capstone design project, or when you in real life design a product or a service transaction or a service process or a production process. The quality function deployment, usually known as QFD, it is a system we can consider tool. It's a systematic way, analytical thinking, how we convert the customer requirement into a specification. The founder of the QFD, a professor from Japan, his name is Yuji Mizano, and he found this QFD in late of 1960s. Most, as you can see, of the quality gurus or quality scientists, they were established their theories in Japan, if they were not even a Japanese. The US scientists like Juran, Deming, they were working in Japan during the time when they established their theories about quality. Ishikawa, the Taguchi method also, that maybe you have covered in design of experiment. And today we have also a Professor Yuji, and a few, we will see another one from Japan. That is related why we see the quality is very a common interest in the Japanese culture. Maybe over the time we have seen many products come from Japan. They known as very reliable and quality products. Their manufacturing and industry known to be in a high quality standards. And that is the reason, if you can see the dates where those methods being established in end of 1960s or 80s, that was long time ago. That's mean the culture of quality has been spreaded long time ago there in Japan, and they spread this culture into other countries, and other countries they carry these methods and theories into their factories and manufacturing and service industries. The professor, when he developed this QFD, he was thinking about a way how we consider the customer satisfaction from the beginning when we develop our product, and how we consider it in the design and in the development of the product until it's being shipped and received by the customers, including the process of the manufacturing, including the specification and the material needed, the sales department and the marketing department, how they do their job. So from A to Z, how we consider the customer satisfaction in the design phase before we go and monitor the process, like using control charts or other control methods like Ishikawa or fishbone we have covered in the Six Sigma. When we try to, this is something period having problems. When you design, you consider from the beginning the customer needs before you establish your design. And this concept is very important even if you are not going to do a product in your design. Even if you are going to have a service transaction, or even a phone application, or a small shop you would like to start and open your own business, you have to consider the customer's requirement from day one. Don't make assumptions. Don't use arbitrary data. try to be systematic in collecting the customer needs and know the market needs before you start your service or product or business. And he was thinking about the same direction when he started this method. So he started thinking about how we consider the design, in the design phase, the customer requirement and specification. We have seen the voice of customers before in Six Sigma chapter. We have learned about the critical to quality. In between the voice of customer and critical to quality, where the QFD fits. You see it in the middle between collecting the voice of customer until identifying the critical to quality or the characteristics of quality. What is the quality function deployment? As we said, we can name it as a systematic approach. We can say it's analytical process or a planning tool, but at the end, it is about to fulfill and have the customer requirements translated into a product development process or a service development process, depend on the sector where are you applying. It is considering the customer satisfaction from the beginning of the stage in the research and exploring about the product or the service until when it is manufactured or sales distribution, they are distributing that product. Why the QFD? The QFD, we said it is important customer needs and requirements, what he think about the quality. Always when we talk about quality and identifying the quality, even if we select a specific product or a service, and we have asked you here as an audience, each one of you maybe has a different perspective about the quality. So when you design your product or service, you have to identify who's going to be your customers, and then you have to collect their feedback about satisfaction in that service or that product. So that's why we have to consider and understand how the customer think about the quality in the service or the product, or why the QFD is important. It will help you to identify what is the most effective tool or application for the analytical tools that you are going to use in order to monitor the process later. Like, for example, if the customer said that the time response is the top characteristic needed in this service, then you know that it is a variable data that you are going to collect. You will need a statistical process control tools that is deal with the variable data. If you have selected control chart or run chart, or even if you have selected bar chart or histograms, you know that you are going to monitor the time response to the customer in this case. For example, the customer may say the safety, or they prioritize the safety to be the first characteristic needed in the product or the service provided. Then the FMEA, it is one of the tools that is you have to consider in identifying the failure before it happens, how you are going to treat it, and how you can prevent it. So these tools can be identified later after you identify or after you implement the QFD and identify the critical to quality. Customers think always different ways, and their requirements may change over time. Making the assumption about knowing without using the proper tools to measure the customer requirements may lead you to be like in this picture, working fast but in the wrong direction. The customer expectation and requirements may need a requirement that you are not considered in your design, even though you are working hard to finish your product or service. You see some companies, they are developing phones all time. Many names, many companies, they've been disappeared or owned by other companies. Nokia, Sony, Ericsson, Motorola. Those well-known names in the cell phone industries. They've been long time ago, they were leaders in this market. Nowadays, they were working hard. They are doing phones every year or every 6 months. They used to release phones, but they were in the wrong direction. Kodak company, it is one of the well-known names. Kodak company announced that they said we were working in the wrong direction. The customers' requirements being changed. They didn't change their methods. They didn't change their products. They were working on developing the films for the cameras, the classic films that is used in the cameras. Nowadays, technology has been different for taking pictures. So those companies, they end up owned by other companies, even though they were working successfully during a certain period of time. They are developing their products in high, good quality, but they were walking in the wrong direction. That's why you have to know your customer requirements and keep know what is your customer requirements over time, because it may change over time. So you need to be adapting to these changes. This is an example why QFD it is important. Here, where is the customer, what he wants. Here, what the sales order, the sales department. Here is the market planning. They think sometimes adding features may attract the customers or increase the sales. This is what the engineers did. If the engineers, they were isolated from the phase of collecting the requirements, they may end up having a wrong picture about what the customer needs. Here was the manufacturing. It's made. Here as the field service installed it. So this is what the customer expect or want. This is what he end up having. Where the QFD unify the requirement from the customer until he receive it during all these processes that in the production or even for the service. That leads us to another model under the QFD that came later after the QFD in 1980s. This method is being founded by a Professor Kano from also Japan. The resolution here in the figure that it will be adjusted and better in the PowerPoint version because of the Blackboard configuration. To explain what is the Canon model, it is basically this model help you to prioritize what is the customer need or what is the specification you need to focus on in your product or service. This is usually happens in the gathering the information phase when you do collect the voice of the customer. The Canon model categorize the specification or the requirement of the customers into two main categories: the basic the quality and the excitement quality. The basic quality, that is we can see it here in the blue arrow. Those basic quantity, those requirements are usually mentioned by the customers, and the customer will be not satisfied if they are not available. So the satisfaction of the customers, it will be low if those quality characteristics, they were absent in the product or the service, and it increase when it is available. But also, as you can see, it didn't come to the excitement level. That's why they call it basic. Why? Because those, it is usually mentioned. That's mean it is something obviously has to be in the product or the service. Imagine in these days, you go and purchase a car that doesn't have at least, let's say, touch screen or GPS or basic features that nowadays in all cars, like AUX or CarPlay or such of those features now in 2021 and further, it is something that is basic to have it in all the cars, regardless of the type. Automatic windows, those type of features, they call them as a basic features or basic quality. Customers expect to have them, and we assume that you should have it. Is something that if you don't have it, I'm not going to consider your product or service as a part of the competition with other competitors. This is about the basic quality. What about the excitement quality? The excitement quality is really what it takes the customers, as the name of that characteristics, to the excitement levels. And those usually are unspoken by the customer because they are in his dreams that about this product or this service. So he may not expect to see it in reality because, for example, this is if it happens, it will be adding the cost is very high, or maybe it is not possible to have it. He cannot imagine a technology or material that can carry this type of feature. That is where you have to consider with the basic when you identify and focus in the QFD. The QFD focus on the performance needs and unmet basic needs. So he wants you to focus in both the excitement and unmet basic need. The unmet basic needs, that means those features, they were not considered in the design, and the customer always mentioned them, as well as you focus on the characteristics or the features that customers dream about to have them in these product or services, that you can consider them, because this will be innovative if you have one or two of those excitement features in your product. That will rise the chance to have a higher market share. You don't have many competitors in these features. You can imagine any features like auto driving, auto parking for all the different positions about parking. These, when you have it, sometimes now even the tires companies, they are innovating type of tires that will not be affected by the roads, nails or stones, that to have a flat tires. So it will be flatless tires. The life and the tearing lifespan for this tires longer than the regular tires. So something like that, it is new, it is innovative. Customers dream about it, but doesn't know how or expect how it can be in reality. Considering those excitement, as you can see, if they are absent here, the satisfaction still is high for the customer, higher than those basic if they were not available, because that is satisfaction is the green arrow, and as you can see, it is low, even though when the excitement is absent, the satisfaction still is not as when the basic is not available. But as you increase in the excitement feature and you have it available from this side, the right side of the this figure, as you can see, it is increasing the satisfaction and performance from the customer point of view. So focusing on the performance needs and the basic needs that was not considered from the beginning in your design, that will help you to meet the customer requirements in your product and services. That's why the Canon model, he categorized these requirements based on the experimentation and historical data they found since the beginning of QFD, because there was about 10 to 20 years between the QFD when it is found until the Canon model is being established. An overview how the QFD process or steps. It starts with the requirement, then it is converted to measures, then this measures converted to characteristics in the product, and then manufacturing process will be established, or converting these specification into the process, then the production day-to-day operation, how you can monitor these requirements being fulfilled in the product as it was set from the beginning. So it is a systematic way. There is an example here. For example, in a service industry, the traveling agencies, they have set the customer requirements as having travel sheep by the customers. It was converted into company measures, which is the number of people traveled, and benchmark with other travel agencies, companies, and see their prices. Then the pricing of the tickets being identified, and the food quantity and the quality identified. Then the availability of the service and those options being available to the customer as it was set from the beginning. Then you have to do is to review the cost and review the quality of the food and the checks that all the time with other competitors. So as I told you, that you will not be away from the direction over the time, because the customers may or the competitors may change their prices in a way that you will be away from the direction, and it will make you need to review your prices or the quality of your product and services. To develop the quality function deployment, there are 7 basic steps. Start with collecting the customer requirements, what you need. You need comfortable ride. If it's a car, you need low noise in the cabinet. Then how these requirements can be translated into technical descriptions or technical specifications. How we do that? We need, for example, for the comfortable riding, we need a of suspensions. We need a certain type of material in the handling system, the braking system, the rubber, that how it is isolating the noise. All these needs from the customer need to be transferred into how. And when we talk about how in step 2, we talk about technical specifications. The step 3, it is unfold. Both of them are about developing a matrix that shows the relation the first matrix, which shows the relation between the customer requirements and the specification. How strong this relation? How strong is this relation? For example, when we said about or talked about the low noise in the cabinet when you drive your car, then it could be related to several specifications. Which one is the one that is affecting the noise most? This is how we put the relation between the what and how for every specification. Then you develop another specification between the hows, between the technical specification itself. It's called the interrelation matrix. And this interrelation matrix shows the relation between these features, how they are correlated to each other, how they are affecting each other. For example, the braking system is not directly related to the suspension system. The suspension is about when you have a speed bump in the road, you have holes in the road. The braking system, it is when you hit the brake on a high speed, how you need the car respond. So those now, they are not strong related to each other as specifications, but both of them are related to the noise and the comfortable ride. Now, how they are related, this is what the engineers do, and identify the relation between those specifications with each other, as well as the relation between the customer requirements and those specifications. On step 5 here, where you start to see the market, you have to see your competitors. When you start your business or you have a service you are going to provide it, even by using applications, you have to assess your competitors based on the specification you have collected from the customer, based on the specification or the technical specification that is set by the engineers. And after you identify these two metrics, you have to evaluate the competitors based on what they're providing to the customers. After you assess the competitors, then you develop the prioritizing requirements for the customer and the specification or descriptors for the technical specifications. Why we need the prioritizing? The prioritizing will help you after you assess the customer, the competitors. Where is the blue ocean in this business? The blue ocean, there is a book by the name, it's called Blue Ocean. I recommend you to read it if you are planning to have your own business. The blue ocean means the area where it's not being hit by competitors. The competitors, they used in their specification certain material that to achieve the customer requirement, that where you can use another alternative material or another specification that also meet the customer requirement. Either you work on the price, or you work on the material, or you consider one of the things that is the customer needs, but other competitors, they are not involving them in their product or service. So here is why you need to develop the prioritizing for the customer requirements as well as for the technical specification. The steps start with collecting the specification from the customer. Then we call this is the voice of the customer, and convert the specification to customer needs statement. So you need to be specific about those needs, and those customer needs has to be also categorized using many tools. One of them is Affinity Diagram that we will learn about it today, or any another analytical hierarchical analysis tool. Affinity Diagram is one of the tool also. It is easy to implement, that to categorize and segment the voice of customers before you take it to the technical specification. Then generate the importance weights for the customer needs statement. That means you have to categorize and prioritize the customer requirements. Then use the specification one now. On the top of this shape we call it house of quality, and we will learn in the next session about this tool. Specifically, we will dive in this tool, how we constructed. This is one of the major tools in the QFD. We call it the house of quality, بيت الجودة. The house of quality consists the customer needs on this side and the technical specification on the top side, and the roof of the house is the correlation or the matrix where it shows the interrelation between the technical specification with each other and the technical specification and the customer needs. Also, it shows the competitors' information on the lower side of the house, and you will have in one figure a sheet that shows you all the requirements, all the technical specifications, the competitors' information in one figure, in one diagram. They call it house of quality. The last step, you can use Pareto analysis to prioritize, to focus on these specification by having the most need or the most suitable to be implemented. Also, you have to consider you may have a certain budget, so you will identify where you have to focus based on this figure here, on this assessment of competitors and customer requirements. The Pareto will help you to identify which one is you have to focus more. Then you can say, this is the critical to quality list where I have to focus and I have to monitor later when I are produced, as well as my service is being provided. The affinity diagram, it is one of the tools that help you to categorize and sort the customer needs, because when you hear the customers may have different requirements, especially when you come to complex system or complex product. So when you construct the affinity diagram, you need to have a brainstorm session or sometimes you use a survey or questionnaire to collect the customer requirements, to list all the possible requirements. You have to record each one and list them in a small card. You write them in a small card. Place all cards on a table randomly. Then try to have qualitative groups or classify them based on a group and identify a name for each of those groups. When you see homogeneous or a relation between some of those requirements, so you can put them together and try to name this group, and look at each group and judge if all elements are the same level of abstraction. That means if all elements belong to this group or it needs to be revised and moved to another group. Check the group by asking if this is the name of the group is correct, what element should be included or missing, so you can have ideas about other specification. Maybe the customer, he didn't mention them, but also you may consider them under this name. So you meet the excitement quality for your product and service. Next, then you test the missing group and check all the customer requirements list again. This is an example how the affinity diagram look. For an example here, we have the categories is being identified as a staff, distribution, quality, capacity. It is related to a restaurant. For example, the requirement here, lack of staff training. That's mean when the customers enter the restaurant, the staff, they are serving the restaurant. So this is one of the requirement, and you found the specification. That means training needed for the staff. Difficulty in recruiting, that's mean from the HR perspective inside the restaurant. This is one of the requirements. You found it is hard to find or hire people. High overtime, because maybe a restaurant is working for a late time, working during the weekends. The distribution category was not enough trucks. That's mean for the supply and demand material or ingredients or require inventory. Cooling systems in trucks and reliable. If you having specification for those food or material need to be specified in a certain temperature. Product damaged in the transit. The quality, variable ingredients quality. So you have to have a consistent ingredient quality for your vegetables or whatever is you are using in that restaurant. Packing not strong enough, and that also may affect the quality of the ingredients. The capacity, insufficient ovens. That means you don't have enough to bake or to provide the quantity that is needed on time. Limited storage space, seasonal demand. For example, you have sometimes high orders and sometimes you don't have. So these requirements, when it is set by the customers and being discussed inside the business, you can convert them to requirement. You can convert them to characteristics. After you listen to the customer, then you categorize them based on where they can fall. This will help you to focus on those categories first, and then dig inside for each one of them and try to identify what is the specification needed here for each one of those, and evaluate the competitors in the market so you can identify what is the priority in your case to focus on. If you have enough budget to solve all of them, it is okay, but sometimes and most of the time you cannot handle all these together. So you can prioritize them based on the importance to the customer, based on the specification, how it is a technical specification is related to the customer needs, based on the competitors' assessment. So you can identify which one you can focus on first, and then second, and then so on. This was just a quick example. In the next, we will talk and explain in details about house of quality. It will take us a longer time than today's session. We have to see how we build the house of quality step by step, from the voice of customer, technical specification, how we put the matrix and put the relation, how we assess the competitors, so we can have the diagram ready for the decision maker in the company to prioritize and evaluate the features that needed to be handled first. So until the next time, I want you to review this material, and we will see the house of quality in our next session. Now it is time for the questions and taking the